Great. Good morning, everyone. It is a beautiful Monday, October 27, year of our Lord, 2025. My Picardo Jewelers watch tells me it's 9:10 and change. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he. Broadcasting today from the United States of America. I could prove it because we're going to have a big, beautiful ballroom at the White House paid for by someone other than the taxpayers. It's also the place for the brave, like the veterans we salute today, thanks to John Basiliga and his great companies, including Eastern Roofing Systems, like Robert McGurran, Scranton, Robert Febo, Avoca, Robert Robbie Bob Wagner, Springbrook Township, Paul Petrolak, Browndale, William McBride, Catawissa, but he late of New Jersey, and LaRue Pappy Rupert, Bloomsburg. The United States of America, founded with a certain knowledge and understanding by our incredible, amazing, irreplaceable founding fathers, that government is not, shall not be, cannot be our parent, our guide, our direction, our salvation, not any of these things, but is nothing more than a necessary evil we require to organize and protect society. That's all government is supposed to be. The United States of America, the country where, for the first time in human history, freedom was declared to be an unalienable right granted to each individual by God. They declared that freedom couldn't be parceled out to groups. It couldn't be controlled by government or government officials, because our great American Constitution ensures and codifies freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of association, economic freedom, and freedom of the press. If they lie, if they shade, if they drive their own agenda, so what? We know better. Now, armed with these freedoms, and only because they had them, a ragtag bunch of immigrants, rejects and their progeny, created the richest, most powerful, most culturally diverse and accepting nation ever to grace our planet Earth. America, the only place specifically invented and designed so that every American can live their life in the manner they choose, unlimited by their background, upbringing, race, color, or creed, unhindered by the government or those who would use government to control others for their own comfort, benefit, or power. Now, this Bob Cordaro Show, it'll always be convincingly conservative, lovingly logical, proudly and passionately patriotic, and reliably right. And so, with that essential preamble delivered, we can gavel to order this meeting of the Club for Common Sense. And because of our commitments to common sense, we can promise you that we will provide a sanctuary of sanity for all of you in what has become a mad world. My word. Bush from Mountaintop checking in. He says, I don't know how many people can hear that interview with that representative from Massachusetts, and that being the Congress or senator, no, Congresswoman, who said, well, this is our leverage. We know people are going to suffer, but we can't give up our leverage. Butch, it goes further than that. John Fetterman, of all people, essentially ran as a crazy person, has called the Democrats' lie out. Now, 3 Democrats, and it's funny, Fetterman just sort of covered over all of them. I don't even know who the 2 other Democrats are that voted to keep the government open. But Fetterman called out their lies. Quite amazing. He said, they're lying. I don't know why. And by the way, you heard in their montage to start the program, a CNN reporter called out Chuck Schumer. This is insane. These people think that they can say one thing and just, I don't know, just months later, days later, years later, whatever happens to be the case, they just pretend they didn't say it. You heard in the montage, Hakeem Jeffries getting called on being a liar on CNBC. It's crazy. These people are insane. It isn't you. It's them. I promise you. It's just, and it can be maddening at times. But, hey, I watch a show. You guys, many of you would remember it. It had a second iteration in the early, 2010s called Dallas. J.R. Ewing and all that. I got to tell you, if you get a chance to watch it and you haven't, I find it so immensely entertaining. I binge watch it. Now, I'm on season 9, and I watched it, not all of it, but I watched it contemporaneous. I think it was on 9 o'clock on Friday nights. And I wouldn't go out till 10 o'clock till after I watched Dallas, like as a high school, college kid. Great show. Anyway, they had this a series, a group of shows in page 9 that were two of the characters. The mother had gotten pregnant, and they found out it was a Down syndrome child. And obviously they were hurt, they were saddened, all this other stuff. But it was, this tells you the difference between now. Now, Laura Marr was the company that produced it, so it's sort of old school television. And the father's, well, we got to have an abortion. And then he came around, they met Down syndrome children, and I mean, it was just lovely. And I almost didn't expect that in the middle of because you're putting old school shows, like this is a 70s, 80s show, in the context of today's TV, which is all politically correct bullspit, disgustingly so. And they decided to have the child, but ultimately lost that child. And were absolutely devastated. But they decided to have their Down syndrome child. The father came around, and then they lost the child. But amazing to have a mainstream program, the most popular program of its time, really lovingly approaching the issues surrounding a Down syndrome child. And when it got proved to the parents that these are some of the most loving, beautiful people on the planet, and they show them visiting with them, I've been meaning to talk to you about it and mention it to you. But it tells you how Hollywood, in quotes, has changed and become more and more revolting. They would never do that now. They would never do that. They'd be comedies make jokes about, or actually get serious about taking away a woman's right to choose. Yeah. Crazy stuff. Somebody said Democrats are mad at Trump for building a ballroom, but are fine with Biden removing children's balls from the room, says Tom from Dallas. Bob, the buzzword around Northeast PA, you're supporting Bob Bolus for mayor of Scranton. I told your senior listeners, no Bob Bolus and Bob Cordaro are friends, but he's supporting Gene Barrett. That is correct. I'm not supporting Bob Bolus. I don't want Bob Bolus to run. And by the way, he surprised me saying he's writing a write-in while he called in on Friday. Had he not surprised me, and if he calls again, I'll say, Bob, don't do it. Don't be siphoning off votes. We cannot have this mayor continue. And then use our city, which she's just helping to destroy, as a platform for her to run to the next office. So, yeah, you caught it. That's right. I was sort of blindsided by this announcement. And I don't want him to run. And it's not personal. I like Bob Bowles. I get a big kick out of him. He sometimes goes too far, but he says things that are true in a intentionally, by the way, in a very rough manner. But, yeah, crazy stuff. I'm telling you, but no, I don't want Bob Bowles to run. And he should not run. And he can't serve. I didn't run. I got asked to run by some serious people. I said I can't. And I was kidding, like, unless Trump gives me a pardon. You can't serve in office as a convicted felon. It can't happen. Somebody said, get to the hot story. Well, this is in Lackawanna County. But again, it's emblematic. That's the reason we bring it up. The commissioner saga goes on. Brenda Sacco, who should have been appointed about 7 months ago, but the boy king Billy Gaughan, who, by the way, he's got a No Kings sign in his yard. He goes and screams at these No Kings protests, and then he operates on his own as county commissioner. You cannot make up what phonies and hypocrites these people are. You can't make it up. It's sad. Anyway, the government shutdown continues. And to me, there's a couple of points. Number one, yes, the Democrats are keeping the government shut down because they want benefits to illegal aliens. Understood. But the main reason is they want that $400 billion to go to insurance companies to prop up Obamacare, which has failed and failed miserably. And they never want to admit that. That's the reason we've got a government shutdown. And so the shutdown proves two things. There is way too much government. And we're going to play a little ditty later on about these clowns. The Democrats on the national level, Democrats and the governor on the state level. And they are shutting Pennsylvania down and shutting the federal government down. They're not quite the same, but we have no budget in Pennsylvania, and things are going to start happening because of Shapiro. He wants to deficit spend. He wants to spend more money than the state takes in taxes, which will result in future years in higher taxes for Pennsylvanians. And he wants to do it because he's running for president. Quite crazy. Quite crazy. This Democrat Party, the Democrat Party today, you go from Mondami to Washington to Harrisburg, there's no redeeming qualities in today's Democrat Party. And I feel sorry for those of you who are Democrats, normal Democrats, the vast majority of you who are normal. And you're subject and associated with this sickness. Crazy. You have Eric Swalwell, the sickening. It's just like one of the most disgusting people on the planet. And he says, you're dead on arrival running for president unless you promise to rip down Donald Trump's ballroom. Wow. Scary people, dumb people, crazy people, all of that. We'll take a break and be back. Buddy Holly, he and the Crickets. Murph tells us this date, 1957, they released their hit, Oh Boy. Bob Cordaro back with you on the eponymous program. Somebody texted, Bob, now I'm texting you as a middle-of-the-road guy, not a Democrat, not a Republican, but the narrative of the Democrats are keeping the government shut down because they want to provide insurance to undocumented immigrants is severely false. Well, no, it isn't. It isn't. And now here's the problem with the information this listener is getting. He says, I live in D.C. That tells you. And he's been there for 10 years. He says he still likes to listen to the local station, and that narrative is false, trust me. It is not, trust me. He continues, the Democrats aren't helping much, but that isn't the reason that the government, I'm getting a slew of texts. I guess they come all at once. Okay. He says, you guys are out of touch. First of all due respect, you didn't listen to what I said. That is part of it. That they don't want their illegal alien agenda to be sidetracked by ending Medicaid and Medicare for illegals. That is 100% true. That is not the only reason, and I said that's not even the main reason for the government shutdown. The main reason for the government shutdown, and remember this, by the way, to tell you how insane the Democrats are. This CR, continuing resolution, is based on a Democrat-approved budget. A Joe Biden Democrat-approved budget. It's a continuation of a Democrat Biden budget. That's how insane they are. Now, let's go back. I said this, and this is the most important reason that they will not bend. Obamacare has failed. Everybody knows it who wants to even think about it. And tucked within the $1.5 trillion are these subsidies of about $400 billion to people on Obamacare, but it's actually to the insurance companies who are providing health insurance under Obamacare. $400 billion to keep that dying program alive. So you didn't quite listen to what I said, and you're wrong that illegal alien benefits are not part of this. You're wrong. Living in Washington means you're inside the bubble. They just repeat the lies. If you lived in Washington for the last 10 years, I think you're aware that 1/3 of federal spending is going to people inside the Beltway in nonprofits and NGOs to administer, and I put that in air quotes, fake programs around the country and around the world. Another said the Republicans in this state keep voting against legalization of marijuana. That would create tens of millions of new income. The state needs to create revenue. Don't just blame Shapiro. You pointed it out just now. Legalizing marijuana, which I don't even know if it's on the table in this budget. Tens of millions. Do you know how much Shapiro wants to spend above revenue? About $2 billion. About $2 billion. What is the pot thing going to do for that? So you don't know what you're talking about. It is Shapiro. He wants to spend on programs to enhance his presidential run. That's it. It's that simple. Rich McHale texts in. He says, morning, Bob. Did you see the morning's news? It shows Mondami's rally. Look at the people sitting behind him. The people in New York have gone insane. This no accomplishment phony is probably going to be the mayor. Now, he was blessed with the right opponents and the stupidity of the New York voter, New York City voter, New York State too, for that matter. They will vote Democrat for a dog, and they're going to vote in a dog. They don't, and their media doesn't ask, well, wait a minute, Mamdani, you say you're an Islamist, but yet you're for LGBTQ rights. Both of those things cannot be true. They can't be. He's a phony. He's a liar. And his supporters are idiots. And anyone who votes for him is an idiot, period. It's that simple. It's that simple, Rich. It's that sad. We have to take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We'll be back. Our Veterans Tribute today and every day, this hour and every hour. Brought to you by our friend John Basiliga and one of his great companies, the first of his great companies, Eastern Roofing Systems. John will tell you, I'm a roofer. Well, Eastern Roofing Systems, institutional, commercial, industrial roofers, one of the biggest and certainly the best in eastern United States. And then they bring all of that expertise to bear on your project at your house or at your small commercial building right here in Northeast Pennsylvania. Why? Because they're headquartered here. Because John started on small roofing projects right here at home. Robert McGurran. He was 77 when we lost him October 19th. He was born in Scranton, a graduate of the great Scranton Technical High School. He proudly served all of us in the United States Army overseas in the Vietnam War. Prior to retirement, he was employed by the train company and then shot optical. Robert was a member of the VFW Post 25, American Legion Post 869, the Polish Club, and the St. Stephen's Boosters Club. And man, he had a great handlebar mustache and more. Surviving our brothers Michael, David, nieces, nephews, great nieces, great nephews, and other family members. Robert McGurran. Robert Febo. We lost him at age 78, October 19th. He was from Avoca. He was married to the former Patricia Dwyer. They had celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary this past July. Born in Old Forge, a graduate of Old Forge High School. He was a veteran of our great United States Navy. Prior to retirement, he was the owner of Febo Auto Sales. Remember that car lot? He was a member of the Prince of Peace Parish Old Forge and the Sons of Italy. He loved playing bocce ball, as well as working on his old cars and projects at the garage. In addition to his wife, Patricia, he survived by 2 sons, 5 grandchildren, 2 brothers, a sister. Tragically, Robert was preceded in death by a son, Robert Jr., a daughter, Julie, and shockingly, 2 granddaughters, Emily and Julianne. Robert Febo. Our great veterans this hour brought to you by John Basiliga and Eastern Roofing Systems. Storm Tracker 16 forecast from meteorologist Joe Snedeker. Today, mostly sunny. 55 degrees is to be the temp, but it's only 35 outside the studios right now. But, you know, it's a 35 that you could tell it's getting warmer. You know what I mean? There's a difference. It wasn't that cold going out. And that idiot Chauncey had me out at 1:30 and 4:30 in the morning. I think I think it's an act. Anyway, tonight, clear skies, low 36. Tuesday, mostly sunny, 55 degrees. Wednesday, morning sun, then increasing clouds, 55. And I think you heard, I heard Joe Snedeker telling Jason on the morning news that there's going to be a washout Thursday, but only spotty showers on Friday. But who goes trick-or-treating anymore? Now, Cutie and I are invited to a couple of Halloween parties. And I've got to tell you, there are people I really like that invited us. I have 0 interest. She loves all the stuff. Oh, she'll get dressed up. We were a nun and a priest last year, year before, whatever. I have 0. And by the way, I want to go to the parties. But I'm actually thinking about protesting. You know, just carry one of those masks. You know, just whatever you put on your eyes. And just go into the parties and say, look, I don't do this. I'm not interested in dressing up for Halloween. I'm just not. And by the way, I've got nothing against you celebrating your Halloween bullspit. I don't care. Have fun. Make it an excuse to do whatever. But don't expect me to participate in it. Now, I'm going to come and have fun and hopefully be fun to the 2 parties we're invited. But I don't think I'm going to dress. I really think I'm going to give that little bit of a silent protest. But, and look, if you want to do it, go all out. Now, this past weekend, was it Friday? Man, I don't even remember. Friday did nothing because it had been out Thursday night. And then Saturday, we went up to Cutie's brother's house. It was great, very nice. But home by, 9 o'clock. And yesterday, Cutie was gone away. And the Bulldog and I basically stayed home. Which I love to do. So didn't do much this weekend. And to me, that's a great weekend. Big Cat texts in. He goes, Bob, meaning the Democrats, they continue to lie because in the past the press has covered up their lies. But even the mainstream media is growing weary of their constant lies and subterfuge. Gahan, getting to the Lackawanna County Commissioner, the boy King, typical lib, rules for thee. Rules for ye, not for thee. Yeah. They can't live under their own insanity. They literally can't. Somebody says, text in, the U.S. government shutdown is primarily due to budget confrontations between Republicans and Democrats. Well, as they said in the movie, Wall Street, tell me what I don't already know. Democrats have been pushing health care policies. While there have been claims that Democrats want to provide free health care to undocumented immigrants, this is not the case. Why do you say, what do you just listen to NBC and CBS and these lying Democrats? Why do you do that? You sound stupid. I don't get it. That is definitely, completely, provably the truth. That's part of the $1.5 trillion add-on package that the Democrat Party wants in order to open the government. It is the case. I told you, it's not the most important part for them. You got to remember, here's the other lie. For an extension to the modification of Medicaid, well, basically saying they will not provide free health care to undocumented Medicare and Medicaid. Do not provide free health care to undocumented immigrants. That is false. That is 100% false. And here's why. Because the state governors and the state administrations determine how Medicaid and Medicare are spent. And the left-wing lunatics like Governor Shapiro here in PA don't even look into the qualifications for eligibility. So yeah, even if by the way, in the law, and I played this clip, Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, points out specifically in the law the Democrats wanted to propose that it provided for illegal alien health care. And so you're wrong, number one. And number two, even now when it is illegal after the big mediocre bill, Democrat governors like Shapiro, like Pritzker, Hochul, name the disgusting human being, like Newsom, are paying with your tax dollars and their state's tax dollars for Medicare and Medicaid benefits for illegals. Period. Somebody says, that's where we differ, Bob. There are no normal Democrats anymore. It's a party that believes in state-sponsored murder up to birth and even after birth of children and state-sponsored sexual mutilization of children. No sane or right person would be part of the Democrat Party today, says Tom from Dallas. Inertia, Tom, is the strongest force in the universe. And many people are inertially inclined to the Democrat Party. And they're either ignoring what the Democrat Party has become, or they're not going to make the effort and they'll vote normally anyway. So, somebody else says, I noticed ever since Biden was elected president, the Democrat Party are now total obstructionists, from shutting down the government, men and women's sports, wide open borders, anti-Semitism protests, transgender ideology on innocent children, even locally with the bike lanes, like Cognetti in Scranton. Now a guy like Fetterman, who wants to put country over party, is despised by the entire Democrat Party because he wants to stop them from being obstructionists. By the way, this is what bothers them most about Fetterman. Not even his vote to keep the government open, but that he's calling them out as the liars they are. That's what's driving them out of their mind. That's why they are now starting to hate them. Somebody says we'll never see money from cannabis sales. Well, I'll tell you this. You'll see the money, but they'll spend more than it brings in. So it's chasing your tail. And I'm agnostic on whether they should approve recreational pot or not. I know it's not good for you, but people have rights be stupid. But Cordaro Jewelers says $950. Ben E. King. Murphs tells us this date, 1960. He recorded his first single, and what a great starter. Stand By Me. Wow. And Disneyland. Not to be confused with Disney World in Florida. But his first television program titled Disneyland after the yet-to-be-completed theme park premiered on ABC. I just remember that every Sunday night. I always say this. Some of you might be getting sick of it, but it's so true. Part of it, at least in our house, was to not spend money. But all the lights went out when you were watching TV. And maybe it was to recreate or because we were used to the theater experience. And when that little pixie came and, spread her, swirled her magic wand, and it was in color. Remember, they'd say in living color. Oh, gosh. I remember the Disney show well Sunday nights. And then it was on after that to Ed Sullivan. Somebody says, Bob, we'll just tell you the truth. As someone who's thrown Halloween parties, for the person who's pretentious like you who doesn't want to dress up, do not come to the party. I'm not pretentious about it. I said it. I hope plainly. I love when people enjoy themselves. I want them to dress up. I just don't want to. I don't want to be bothered. It's nothing about pretension. It's not that I'm looking down on the people who dress up. I'm just not interested. But okay, your point is taken. Don't either dress up to a dress-up party or don't go. And somebody says, oh, come on, Bob, you can spruce it up a little, get a sombrero. Maybe I could get a sombrero and mustache. ALTS back at you. Somebody says, I'm with you, Bob, but I do like some of the slutty Halloween outfits. Now, Cutie will be dressed. Bob, go to the Halloween party as a serial killer. Get a box of cereal and a rubber knife. Dress normal. And my man, Mayor Jamie says, I know exactly what you mean. I have no desire to go to Halloween parties, and we have a few. Hope all is well, buddy, LTS. Well, I have a desire to go to the parties. See, there's the difference. It's not like I don't want to go out. When I want to go out, I want to go out, and I love it. But in any event, Joe B. says the reason to save money on your electric bill was because you didn't want PPL stock to go to high school. I don't know. I mean, we didn't think about utility bills back then the way we do now. So, Bobby, go to the Halloween parties and keep it simple. Just take a white bed sheet with you. You can never tell everyone you were Osama bin Laden. Well, when I used to take the kids trick-or-treating, I used to put a sheet, and it didn't matter what color it was. It was ever one we were going to throw away. And I would cut the 2 eye holes, and I would go. That's it. That's what I wore. And maybe that's the solution, because I don't want to rain on your parade if you're having a party and you want everybody dressed up. But I don't want to dress up. I'm not that into it. I'm into your party. See, there's the difference. I'm into your party. I want to come. There's 2 people I really want to go to their party. I just don't know about the dressing up part. We'll see. I'll have to work that one out. Well, my Bacardo Jewelers watch tells me it's time for the news. And they have Raymond Weil, Breitling, Oris, Longines, Michelle, Shinola, Luminox, Swiss Army, Seiko, Tory Burch, Victorinox, Bulova, and more, including my very own brand. It's not my brand, their very own brand, Bacardo's watches. It's the jewelry store but it's also the watch store. Jefferson Avenue, Spruce Street, downtown Scranton, catty corner from the Radisson. And it's 10:02, according to my Picardo Jewelers watch. We'll be back. Great good morning, everyone. My Picardo Jewelers watch tells me it's 10:09 and change here in the great Northeast. This beautiful Monday, October 27, 2025. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he. And it's a big day to fight for America, defend our values. And with the help of our friend, John Basiliga, and one of his great companies, Eastern Roofing Systems, to honor the brave who have made us and kept us free. People like the veterans we've lost this year, but celebrate today thanks to John, like Robert Febo of Avoca, Robert McGurran of Scranton, Paul Petrolak of Browndale, Robbie Bob Wagner of Springbrook, William McBride, late of New Jersey, but he was from Catawissa, and LaRue Pappy Rupert, Bloomsburg. So with history, our great founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle by gaveling back to order this meeting of the Club for Common Sense, promising all of you, because of our commitment to common sense, we will provide that essential sanctuary of sanity in a world where an entire political party, the Democrats, has gone insane. The media, the global establishment, they're all crazy. It isn't you. I promise you that. Listen to John Fetterman. Of all people. Dear Lord. Mother Teresa, St. Teresa for October 27th. She said, people die suddenly all the time, so it could happen to us at any moment. Yesterday is gone, and tomorrow has not yet come. We must live each day as if it were our last, so that when God calls us, we are ready to go home to God with a clean heart. I don't know why, but this exact thought that Mother Teresa brings to the fore so lovingly, I don't know why I was thinking of it. You could go any day, and we're seeing it happen to friends, loved ones. It's why we read that poem, Tomorrow Never Comes, every Friday. We don't know how much time we have, do we? We really don't. By the way, somebody texted in, Senator John Fetterman said no need for the government shutdown, and the entire media and Democrat Party know this. We can keep the government open and still negotiate the insurance subsidies and come up with a compromise. Instead, the Democrat Party refused to do the will of the American people. The Democrats must understand this is what the majority of the American people vote for in the last election. They don't care. The person running around yelling, democracy, 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 that's actually the proof they don't give a bleep about democracy. The loudest voice in the room on a particular subject, and you'll find this to be true almost all of the time, they are the ones who are gumming up the works. And today's Democrat Party is a sickening disgrace. That's just what is. Well, it's Monday. And when you hear that song, and you know it's Monday at 10-ish, 10:13 and change on my Picardo Jewelers watch, you know it's time for Monday Musings with John Perillo. John, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, Bob. How are you?
Good. Hey, John, doesn't it seem like, just so you guys, I may not have mentioned it, Cutie and I were out in California, or Denver, to visit my son, Bobby, who's out there. And then we went down to Colorado Springs and saw the whole Perillo-Savico gang. And doesn't it seem like we could pop over tomorrow and see you?
No, would love that.
No, but doesn't it seem like it?
Yeah, absolutely.
It brings some real immediacy. And I know we talk on the phone every week, but I don't know. Anyway.
We need to do more of that. I know. I would love to do more of that. Because I think the format limits the conversation, obviously. And to your listeners, I really enjoy this time. But it's hard to have the kind of give and take that you really need to explore topics until you get face to face. And when we do, it's a joy. I mean, it really is.
Now, many of you remember we started this program with John Perillo and Monday Musings. Actually came up with the name early on. That it went from the rise of Western civilization, Egypt, around the Horn on the Mediterranean to all the way to Rome and then to Great Britain and then here. And when we got to the United States in the development of Western ideas, Western thought, we got to the Federalist Papers. And John's a bit of an expert on that. And it was great. And this is the anniversary, 1787, of the first of the Federalist Papers, this date, that year. So I brought that to John's attention. Now, it's not our subject for today, but I just wanted to let all of the listeners out there know that this is where we started it all. Right.
And for your listeners, there's so much wisdom in those papers. And just one example, if somebody were to tell you that the Second Amendment, for instance, applies only to militias, well, that's true. And then you have to read what Hamilton says about militias and what they are. And it's nothing like what the people who are against gun ownership, for instance, are telling you. It has nothing to do with that, right? Or when we try to understand why our president wasn't directly elected, or what the role of the judiciary should be, all that stuff is, because the Constitution has its words and it's somewhat limited. And then when you get to the Federalist Papers, they really dig into it a little bit more deeply to say, this is what we are thinking. Because as Bob had alluded to in the past, the Federalist Papers were really a series of op-eds that wound up in newspapers that were designed to get the population to understand what this new Constitution that was proposed. It wasn't signed at the time. What are we proposing for this new form of government? So, the Hamilton and Jay and Madison, they dig in deeply into what the thought process was behind it. So they're fascinating. And Bob, you're right. At some point, we have to get back to that. We could talk about undefeated Navy now being ranked 23 in the coaches poll.
Yeah.
And they can't take advantage of it.
Remind me again. I don't want to forget when Chet Parlavecchio is on. I want to bring that up to him. I just keep forgetting. But he'll be on at 11:05. John, the other thing, I remember there's a guy running for county commissioner here now, and he's carrying on spitting and screaming. That's Mike Cappellini. Just the other week at the No Kings protest about democracy. And I said to him one time at a party, I said, Mike, this is not a democracy. This is a Democrat-Republican. He went out of his mind. And I literally went out of his mind screaming and yelling. And I'm like, man, could you be that ignorant? And you're out there speaking publicly, and this is what they do.
Right. So that, and again, I actually have a topic for today, but whatever. Bob's absolutely right. The idea, you have to remember that what was going on before we became a country. We're 13 independent colonies, all existing on their own. The states were completely autonomous. Their fear was that Great Britain and France and Spain would take them over, because Spain had a very big presence in the West and in the South, Florida area. The British were very upset about the fact that that they weren't collecting all the taxes they needed to, and the French were the French, right? So the states are saying, how do we form a union that helps us defend ourselves? But how do we avoid the same mistakes that made us want to leave Great Britain to come here? Right, so it was around religious freedom. It was around not having a king. Right, so the debate about the presidency was very, very severe. They didn't want this all-powerful presidency. They wanted the states to have states' rights, and the states could the idea was that electors were going to be nominated by the state legislatures, and they would select the president because each of the states had their own needs. I mean, all this stuff that we don't teach anymore. So Bob's absolutely correct. We are not a democracy. We were never designed to be a democracy. And not only were we not supposed to be a democracy, the founders had a very profound fear of democracy, because they believed,
and an understandable one. That's mob rule. They understand what that means. And by the way, the ironic thing, they don't even know it. the Democrats are screaming and the left wingers who are screaming about democracy actually want mob rule. You could see it.
Well, and again,
They just don't know what it is.
And as longtime listeners know, I try not to be too political, but yes, as you look at when you see mobs saying this is what we want, that is precisely the thing that our founders were scared of, right? Because Aristotle and Plato had thought that we could have a bunch of philosophers in charge, and Aristotle said, no, we need to have a smaller group of very smart people in charge, and all this stuff as Bob alluded to, through the Romans and the Greeks, and all this comes to the system that we have now. But none of them believed that you should have the mob in charge. None of them.
Yep.
Right? And so now when you see the mob and you see politicians responding to the mob, that is precisely the thing that our Constitution was designed to prevent. So I think that's an important thing.
John, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We've only got a couple of minutes, but I want to talk about at least start talking about your original subject, because I diverted you. So hang on with us, and we'll come back. John Perillo, Monday Musings. We'll be back after this. Murph says, after 24 hits, Gladys Knight and the Pips finally had their number one hit. This date, 1973, with that great song, Midnight Train to Georgia. Hey, Carly texted in, or actually emailed in, how about Sunday with Mutual of Omaha? Timex watches, takes a licking, and keeps on ticking. Go to Cordaro Jewelers and get your Timex watch. Yep. Thank you, Carly. I remember that well, but we didn't watch it during football season because the second game was still going on. We watched that in the winter, Mutual of Omaha's, and what would he say? I'll send, was it Wayne? I think it was Wayne. While I stand safely, while I stand safely on the riverbank, Wayne will go in and wrestle the alligator. Yeah, good stuff. All right, let's go back to John Perillo, Monday Musings. All right, John, knocked you off track completely, but for an important subject to which you have great knowledge. But let's get back to one of the things you were talking about. I'm guessing wanted to talk about this New Jersey governor's race.
Right, and remember, right after Mutual of Omaha, I think was Jacques Cousteau. So that was the other thing I.
Oh, that's anyway. That was a good lineup. It really was. Yeah, that was you learned a lot.
Yep, and for those of us who are coastal people, that was fascinating. But hey, before I actually wanted to talk about the court case about redistricting. But before I get to that, which we may not get to this week, I did want to take a brief second to comment on the parent scandal of Mickey Sherrill, who's a New Jersey candidate for governor.
I've been meaning to ask you about that. Now, for those of you who aren't aware, Mickey Sherrill, a left-wing lunatic congressperson from New Jersey, is running for governor there against a guy named Jack Ciattarelli, who he's just great. He will be a great governor. Anyway, he's within the margin of error, at least, or close at this point. But Cheryl's got a problem with the truth on a lot of issues. But one of them is, and she keeps talking about she's a Naval Academy, whatever, or attended the U.S. Naval Academy, which our friend John Perillo did. She was not found guilty in the cheating scandal, but she didn't get to walk for graduation. And nobody better to speculate or postulate on what that might have meant than John Perillo. Fire away, John.
Okay, thank you for the lead in, and so your listeners know I'm not really going to talk about the candidates themselves or whether who's better or whatever. But Ms. Sherrill, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the honor codes of the United States Naval Academy and West Point, because they're actually different, or were is probably a more accurate way of saying that, because I'm a little bit before Ms. Sherrill's vintage. But back then, the military academy at West Point, their honor concept said that a cadet does not lie, cheat, or steal, or tolerate anyone who does. And the U.S. Naval Academy's honor concept, which would have applied to Ms. Sherrill, omits the second part of that sentence. Ours was just that we don't lie, cheat, or steal. And the reason for that difference is that the mids at the Naval Academy are given the option of confronting either theft or cheating, and then making a personal judgment call on what we believe happened and whether we believe that is worthy of kicking that person out. Whereas at West Point, if you witness cheating or stealing and you don't report it, you are guilty of cheating or stealing. So there is a little bit of a difference there, and I think it's a critical difference. And I personally like the Naval Academy for a lot of reasons. But the point is that had she seen cheating and did not report it, there is the possibility that she could have graduated. Now, however, she has to confront it. That's the difference, right? So if I see cheating at the Naval Academy, I don't have the option of walking away. I do have the option of confronting the person who is cheating, and then after that confrontation, making a judgment call that I feel, that this person has either repented or somehow felt that, that there's a possibility of misunderstanding or something of that sort, and then deciding to end it at that point on my personal beliefs, right? So that's the difference between those two, and I think it's actually a very important difference. I can tell you that it's high. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I need you to speculate a little bit on this, and I don't want it to be unfair to her, even though I despise her policy stances.
Right.
And she served the country after that fact, just to point out to everybody. She served after she left the Naval Academy. John, why would she not simply say, because she hasn't, why would she simply not say, well, here's what happened, and this is why I didn't walk for graduation? She hasn't done that.
That's a very good question. I don't know the answer to that, and I what I will say that it is highly unlikely that she cheated herself and graduated.
Yep.
Right. That I can almost guarantee you that didn't happen. Right. And again, I'll speculate, but this is pure speculation. You know, I don't want to be guilty of murdering somebody's reputation. There's the possibility that she didn't confront it. Right. So if you saw that there was cheating or stealing and you didn't confront it, that is a violation of the honor code at the Naval Academy. Right. You have to confront it, and you have to understand the reason for that. Right. Separate
question, John. Why won't she simply say? This is what troubles me about the whole incident. She won't say what happened.
I don't have a good answer for that.
There isn't a good answer. I was thinking, well, maybe there's something I'm missing here, that she's got some NDA as part of being at the Naval Academy. She won't say why she didn't walk in the graduation ceremony.
And
that's disturbing.
There shouldn't be a problem with you saying that there's an NDA, right? If there is a non-disclosure agreement, to Bob's point, or the Naval Academy says, this is a sealed record for whatever reason.
She's not even saying that. So it's obviously not true. She just doesn't want to say what she did to prevent her from graduating with her class. You put that in context with her lies about her $7 million in stock profits over her congressional term, and you say, man, this is a phony.
Well, and she did wind up going to flight school and graduated from flight school.
Flew helicopters and served the country. Great. But she's just incapable of telling the unvarnished truth when it comes to a difficult question.
Yeah, on that particular topic, I agree. And I will say, at the Naval Academy and at the service academies and in the military in general, we take that kind of thing very, very seriously, because sometimes you have to report unpleasant truths, and if you do lie about that, readiness, for instance, would be the one that keeps springing to mind. Then you put your team at jeopardy. You put your ship at jeopardy, and it's not just you. It's the 500 people with you that are going to sink if you're not ready to fight the battle that you're ready to fight. So, that all I can say about that is I will tell you that we take that kind of integrity very, very seriously, and it's so yeah. Bob's right. I don't know the answer. It's odd that nobody's saying anything about it. And I wish her the best in her personal life.
Well, a lot of Navy Academy grads are saying something about it, which is this is disqualifying for her not to answer. For her to not answer why she didn't walk is disqualifying. And to me, as an outsider, as someone who wasn't even in the military, look, if you said, look, I didn't want to rat on somebody and I paid the price, fine by me. I did it myself. I'm there. But
that is absolutely a legitimate.
Yep.
By the way, at the Naval Academy, that would be a legitimate thing to say as well, right? I saw this happen. I felt that the person I saw Bob cheat, but I talked to Bob, and Bob was repentant and said, "Yeah, the answers were there on the desk. I didn't even know what it was. I decided." I looked at him and I said, after I looked at him, I said, "Oh crap, this is the answers to the test." And it will never happen again. As if I were a midshipman and we had that conversation, I would probably say, "Look, Bob, you know how serious this is. I'm gonna eat this one, and between you and I, this is never gonna happen again, right?" And Bob says, "Yeah, you're right." I probably would have let that walk in my mind, right? So yeah, there are degrees of that, and like I said, I prefer ours to West Point's. But you're right. I think it is a little bit odd that nobody is getting a straight answer about that.
John Perillo, Monday Musings. Thank you, John. Sorry to sidetrack you, but Everything we talk about is important. It always is.
Yeah, pop on over, like you said, and we'll do this. We should do this live. We could do this for 3 hours.
Thank you, my man.
All right, take care. Have a great day.
Monday Musings on a Monday with John Perillo. We'll be back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. Our Veterans Tribute this hour and every hour, this day and every day. Brought to you by our friend John Basiliga and his incredible companies. And the first of those was Eastern Roofing Systems, headquartered in Jessup. They are one of the largest and the best commercial, industrial, institutional roofer in the eastern United States and beyond. And guess what? They bring all that expertise to your home or your small building in Northeast Pennsylvania because they're headquartered right here. Paul Petrolak, Browndale. He was 87 when he died October 20th. His wife, the former Marianne Zwanchik, he lost her in 2009. His loving companion is Pauline Nadzak. Born in Simpson, he attended Fell Township schools and served in the Air Force as a telecommunications specialist. He retired as a corrections officer at Lackawanna County Prison. Member of Ascension Paris Forest City, Tri-County Sportsmen's Association. He was a hunter and a fisher. Paul Petrolak was known as the Pierogi King of Forest City, and he helped deliver Meals on Wheels. He's survived by his daughter, a son, a grandson, a granddaughter, as well as a great-granddaughter. Sadly, he was preceded in death by a daughter, Paula, and brother, Michael. Paul Petrolak. Robbie Bob Wagner. He was just 66 when he died May 29th. He was from Springbrook Township. Brief fight with cancer. He was the devoted husband of Brenda Cirillo Wagner. They enjoyed almost 23 years of loving marriage. He was born in Nicosia, Cyprus, to the late Lieutenant Commander Robert Wagner and his wife Judy Loyak Wagner of Gambrills, Maryland, both formerly of Pittston, PA. He grew up in Cyprus, Guam, Japan, Pittston, Navy brat, until they settled in Maryland, and he graduated from Anne Arundel High School. He was honorably discharged from the Army Reserves, where he honed his craft as a computer programmer. He turned that into his livelihood and worked as a computer programmer and consultant for banking and insurance companies. It was at Transamerica where he met his future wife. Robert was a talented artist, enjoyed working in all mediums, airbrushing flames onto friends' cars as a kid, charcoals, pen and ink, watercolors. Bob will be remembered as a kind and loving person with a witty and a dry sense of humor. In addition to his wife, Brenda, he survived by his brother, his sister, and other family members. Robert Robbie Bob Wagner. Our great veterans this hour, brought to you by John Basiliga and Eastern Roofing Systems. Storm Tracker 16 forecast from meteorologist Joe Snedeker. Today, mostly sunny, 55. Tonight, clear skies, 36. Tuesday, mostly sunny, 55. Wednesday, morning sun, then increasing clouds, 55 degrees. Bob Cordaro back with you on the program. Bulldog. McCartney and Wings. Murph says this date, 1975. They released their hit Venus and Mars. I don't think he played this when I saw him at Coors Field. Maybe. Bob Cordaro back. Oh, there. Wait, well, no, keep playing it, Bulldog. This is where it picks up. Paul McCartney. Again, this date, 1975. Venus and Mars, Murph says. Mark from Hazelton text or emails in. The president is merely the most important among a large number of public servants. He should be supported or opposed exactly to the degree which is warranted by his good conduct or his bad conduct, his efficiency or inefficiency in rendering loyal, able, and disinterested service to the nation as a whole. This is from Teddy Roosevelt, by the way. I forgot. That's not just from Mark. It's from Teddy Roosevelt. Therefore, Teddy says, it is absolutely necessary that there should be full liberty to tell truth about his acts And this means that it is exactly necessary to blame him when he does wrong as to praise him when he does right. Any other attitude an American citizen is both base and servile. To announce that there must be no criticism of the president or that we are to stand by the president, right or wrong, is not only unpatriotic and servile, but is morally treasonable to the American public. Think Joe Biden. Nothing but the truth should be spoken about him or anyone else. But it is even more important to tell the truth, pleasant or unpleasant, about him than about anyone else. Teddy Roosevelt. Oh, man. Astonishing greatness. Anyway, somebody says, you can't see me on camera. Am I wearing a Paul McCartney shirt? No. You know what I'm wearing today? My friend Sean Dempsey gave it to me. And I, obviously, I didn't see them when I was in prison. But it's a USP Canaan shirt. You know, our penitentiary up in Canaan Township? Yeah. I've got my USP Canaan long sleeve tee on today. It just happened to be the case. Not because I was dressing in the dark only. I actually knew what I was wearing. So no Paul McCartney shirt today. I don't have a Paul McCartney shirt, as you may know. As you know, I think you're saying it sarcastically. So, yeah, a lot of people quoting John Fetterman. And, man, does that outrage the bad guys. Outrage. They just hate it. He called them out on their lie that the Republicans are shutting down the government. It's an outright lie. Total falsehood. Now, it's an exaggeration by the Republicans, but it's, you only get so many seconds. It's an exaggeration, but true, that one of the reasons the Republicans or the Democrats are shutting down the government is because they want to take away from the big mediocre bill the portion that says you don't pay health insurance, Medicaid, Medicare for illegals. That is one of the reasons. Fact, period, end of sentence. The main reason, however, is that these temporary subsidies, and remember, there's never any temporary spending in Washington, D.C. These temporary subsidies the Democrats had voted to make Obamacare feasible. And it is not, by the way. On its own, it's a complete failure. And those $400 billion that they want to pump life into Obamacare is the main reason, not the only reason, but the main reason they've shut the government down. Somebody says, crazy you read that and said, think Biden. Don't apply it to Trump, right? The infallible leader. I criticize Trump all the time. You obviously don't listen. You're obviously, well, not obviously. You may be a left-wing lunatic. You may have Trump derangement syndrome. Yeah, you know why I'm thinking Biden? Because when he was dribbling and drooling in his pudding, they pretended he was normal, sharp as a tack. Oh, he's as capable as ever. He was the best Biden ever. That's why I'm thinking of Joe Biden. I criticize Trump anytime he's wrong. By the way, you don't listen, so I'm not going to go through the litany of things I complained about Trump on. I won't do it because you don't listen. Apparently. I criticize him all the time. I disagree with him, usually on minor points, not major points, all the time. Well, I've got a Cordaro Jewelers watch on, which means I have the accurate time. And when it hits 11:50 on the nose, which it will, It's got time to go to Bloomberg Money Minute. Murph tells us this date, 1980. Neil Diamond, the great Neil Diamond, released his first single from the movie The Jazz Singer, which he also starred in. I don't think he was much of an actor, but what a great voice, what a great performer. Love on the Rocks is the song. And I tell you, it always reminds me of my friend Doc Doherty. He's the #1 Neil Diamond fan. And I mention him. He's recovering from his bout with cancer, battling it. And we're praying for him all the time. You know that. All right, let's go right to Luciano. Luciano, we got about a minute before the top of the hour, my friend. Fire away.
Thank you, Bob, for taking my call. WILK is News Talk Radio, not News Tech Radio. You bunch of cowards. A coward dies 1,000 times before his death. Listen, callers, you should be very grateful that you have a News Talk Radio in this medium-sized city. Most cities the size doesn't have News Talk Radio. Call him up and debate with him, you cowards. Thank you, Bob.
Thank
All
you,
right, brother.
Luciano. Always the best. Look, here's the problem. If you've fallen for the Democrat insanity, you actually know you're wrong. You know you're lying, and you can't defend your position without continuing to lie. So they really can't call into the show. Nearly half our audience is Democrat. By the way, candidates that I support, like Gene Barrett for mayor in Scranton, Democrats. This is not about political parties. This is about insanity versus sanity. It's about stupid versus trying to be smart. It's about lies versus truth, fact, and reality. It's that simple. It's that stark. I don't get it. Love on the Rocks, it's hell on your back. I don't get it. I did it because I know you think it's funny, so I said what it was. It's what is, guys. And I still don't understand among seemingly sensible people, regardless if you despise Trump, which he's despisable. I get it. He exaggerates. He's overly optimistic. Look at the peace deals. But that's part of his shtick. It's part of what ends up working for him. I don't like it, but it's what is. And so, and by the way, since Ronald Reagan, and I would say including him in so many respects, he's the best president in my lifetime. And the issue is, what is the truth? What are the facts? What are the reality? But Luciano, they cannot call in and defend their party's policy stances. It's impossible. It's literally impossible. Can't be done. All right. My Bacardo Jewelers watch tells me it's 11:01 and change, which means it's time for the news with Brian Hughes. And yes, that rhymes. We'll be back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. Chet Parlavecchio for the weekend wrap-up. Great good morning, everyone. My Cordaro Jewelers watch tells me it's 11:06 and change here in the great Northeast. This beautiful Monday, October 27, 2025. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he. It's a big day to fight for America, defend our values, and with the help of our man, John Basiliga, and his great Eastern Roofing Systems, to honor the brave who have made us and kept us free. People like the veterans we've lost this year, but celebrate today thanks to John. Like Robert, Robbie, Bob Wagner, Springbrook, Paul Petrolak, Browndale, Robert Febo, Avoca, Robert McGurran, Scranton, William McBride, late of New Jersey, but he was from Catawissa, and LaRue Pappy Rupert, Bloomsburg. So with history, our great founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle. Gaveling back to order after that brief news adjournment, this meeting of the Club for Common Sense, promising you that as part of our commitment to common sense, we will provide a sanctuary of sanity to all of you. As a major political party, the Democrats, lies to all of us about just about everything, and the establishment and the people who are sucking at the teat, well, they're all taking advantage of all of us, and they're lying about it, but that's what we're here for. You need a break from it. Well, Music Man texts in. He says, Trump derangement syndrome is alive and well at my gym in Scranton. I have invited them to call into your radio show, and all they can say is he will just lie and distort the truth. But when I asked them to call in, they really don't have a good reason. That gym is definitely all blue no matter what. It's Music Man, it's what we face here. They literally cannot argue because the people that they're mimicking and following and aping are liars. And they're lying about just about everything. If Gavin Newsom tells the truth about something, it's probably a mistake. And I've watched the rest of these miscreants, from Schumer to Jeffrey. It's disgusting. Mamdani, I'm saying this. Mamdani, you cannot be the devout Muslim you claim to be and be Mr. LGBTQ plus. It's a lie. They cannot coexist. You're a liar. You're a phony. And we could go on and on. It's like this woman, New Jersey, Mickey Sherrill. And we explored this with John Perillo on Monday Musings. He, a Naval Academy graduate, combat veteran. He said, hey, I said, and he's trying to be politic, which I don't have to be. She cannot say and will not say, actually, why she didn't walk with her class when it graduated from the U.S. Naval Academy. And she was gobsmacked when no less than as Trump would say, low IQ individual like Charlemagne the God asked her, how'd you make $7 million on stock trades as a congressperson? I don't know. I'll have to check. If you're worth $1 billion, a $7 million profit may escape your grasp. But if you can't answer for it, in her circumstance, you're a phony and a liar. It's what is, unfortunately. Hey, we're going to stay in New Jersey, but we go from lousy, like Mickey Sherrill, to good, like Chet Parlavecchio, who is not only a Hall of Famer, New Jersey State Hall of Famer as a coach. He was a pro coach. He was a star at Penn State. one of the best linebackers ever out of that program, and that's linebacker U. He played for the Pack. He played for St. Louis. He coached in the NFL. And he danced with the stars to this very song. Our man, Chet Parlavecchio. Chester, how are you?
Bobby, what's up, buddy?
Hi.
Hey, Bobby, you know something? I lost $100 yesterday. You bet I know where that came from. You can bet I know where that came from. What's up, partner?
What did you lose it on?
Oh, the Bengals killed me. They killed me. I mean, they destroyed my parlay.
How about those Jets? Wow.
Yeah, it was kind of funny all around the league yesterday.
By the way, a guy that beginning his career might have been towards the end of yours. I'm not sure. Maybe not. Mangold. The old Jets offensive lineman died.
Yeah, brutal. Bobby, holy, you want to hear the best? I dropped my grandson off every Tuesday morning, and Nick would be standing right there with his son or his son or daughter. Both of the kids went to school together. I saw Nicky there every Tuesday morning. It bothers me. It's just a young man with everything to live for, one of the all-time greats at his position.
Yep.
Really, because football becomes so minimal now when you think about those. I keep seeing those four little kids, and there's just no words. There's no words. And he was a class act. He was coaching at Del Barton, where my son played. The kids up there loved him. Real class individual, and it's just a tragedy. At 41 years old. And like I said, I keep seeing him standing there with his kid, and I can't get that out of my mind.
Chet, I felt like the Jets win was some sort of cosmic or karmic deal.
Yeah, right?
I mean, they didn't deserve to win the game, and they
deserve?
won.
Let's get into that. First of all, they had 500 yards in offense, which is more than they had the previous 3 games combined. So that tells you. But you know something, Bobby, all kidding aside, okay, Breece Hall gets going. That's great. He rushes for 150 yards. It was nice to see him have a nice day. Fields actually looked efficient. He didn't kill them. They did some nice things. And it was nice to see them get a win, I guess. Obviously, if you're a Jet fan, it's a great thing to see them get a win. But you know something, Bobby, what catches my eye in that game? I don't think that I have seen a less professional performance by an NFL defense than I did by the Cincinnati Bengals yesterday. It was embarrassing. During the course of the game, my son is watching with me. We were doing some film work preparing for his own game. And I looked at him, I said, do you realize that if you were to tell young kids everything not to do defensively as far as individual technique, it's clear as day right here in this game film? That's how bad the Cincinnati Bengals are. And you know something sad about it? You've had one of the best quarterbacks in football, arguably a top 3 quarterback in football over the last how many years. All you need to put with that kid is a serviceable defense. Just one that can service the game and get maybe 2 stops a game.
Yeah.
You have not been able as an organization to give Joe Burrow the tools that he needs to take that team to the next level. To me, that's an organizational problem, and that's something there has to be something done there because
let's talk about this, Chet, because I observe it all the time. Horrible technique by professional football players. All right, you're in the NFL. You make the team. All of this being a miracle and miraculous and so unique to you and a tiny group of people. In terms of people who've played football and strive to be good at the game. How do you get to the NFL and not have good fundamentals? And then is there any attempt to coach fundamentals in summer camp and during the season?
Well, you couldn't hit a better topic with me. One of the great things when I went to the NFL, Coach with Munch in Tennessee, when I became the linebacker coach, what I could not believe is how little time was spent on fundamentals. They call it indie period, individual period, where you develop skills and techniques. The problem with the National Football League is they don't tackle all year long. They don't tackle in practice, whether it be form tackling, positional, different styles of tackling, open field, box tackling, angle tackling, all different situations that happen on a football field. Me and Munch used to have arguments saying, I say, Mike, I'm a linebacker coach. My guys are paid to tackle. That's what they do. And I don't know who can tackle here because in training camp, we don't live tackle other than in a preseason game.
Now, practically speaking, even at small college where I was, you could only go live for 10 minutes a day because everybody's going to get hurt.
But understand the difference between college and pros, though. It's not costing me $15 million that I'm paying this guy when I get him hurt.
It's worse.
In college, you go to the next guy.
Yeah.
In college, you go to the next guy. So my point is, in college, we did a lot more at least fundamental work in tackling. Bobby, I'll give you a quick one to show you the level of way it is. We're in OTAs. We're in off-season training exercises in Tennessee. I'm doing we're not even in uniform. We just have helmets on. I'm doing a form tackling drill, positional drill on the angle with my linebackers. I get called into the GM's office after that same afternoon. Check, can I show you something? He shows me on the screen my drill. It's being filmed.
Mm-hmm.
All practices in the National Football League are being filmed, no matter what time of year they are, and they go to the league office and they get watched. He said, see that drill? You can't do it anymore. I said, it's a form drill. We're not even in uniform. It's just working on our footwork, our body position, our pad level. He said, I'm sorry. It's deemed too physical. Huh. And I looked and said, man, I mean, for me, it was new. I said, are you kidding? And I said, okay. And I walk out of the office and I can no longer do that drill. Again, the problem being is it's not repped. It's like anything. It's not that they don't know how to tackle. Their tackling skills have diminished through the years because they don't rep it. Oh, they knew how to tackle. They knew how to tackle in high school and they knew how to tackle in college. It diminishes because of the lack of repetitions working on fundamentals. And that was my biggest complaint in the NFL. And
Cincinnati proved it, unfortunately,
oh my God.
yesterday.
You talk about deteriorating skills. They weren't even an attempt to form up and tackle.
Chet, we got to take a break. I want to go to college football, see if anything stood out to you on Saturday. And after that, we'll go back to the pros of any other games that caught your eye. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. Chet Parlavecchio. That means it's Monday wrap-up. We'll take a break and be back. Murph tells us this date, 1981, Blondie released her hit, The Tide is High. And then, this was just, it actually, it sickens my heart even to hear about it. 7 years later, it's the 7-year anniversary of the gunman shooting and killing 11 congregants, wounding 6 others at Pittsburgh's Tree of Life Synagogue. The deadliest attack on Jews in U.S. history. Robert Bowers, the suspect. Anyway, we've got more news coming from Lackawanna County. The saga continues. Brian Hughes is in the studio. Brian, what do you got?
I know that you can relate to the happenings in the Lackawanna County Commissioner's office,
Yes.
so I figured I should let you know this before my next newscast. But yeah, Lackawanna County Commissioner Brenda Sacco, the new chair of the board, came down to 2 votes. The original vote was Sacco abstaining, while Gahan voted no, Shermack voting yes, because she said the chairman of the board makes more money. That was why it came down to a tie at that particular.
Well, somebody's got to explain to Brenda. I know it's her first week on the job, but you need 2 votes.
Right. Well, exactly. I think it was just to make it seem better, But she didn't comment when asked directly by Gahan if she'd respect the results of a November 4th special election to fill the remainder of Commissioner Matt McGloin's unexpired term. But second vote, they had some little procedural issues just kind of getting the vote down. But Shermack and Sacco voted yes. Gahan voted no, and 2-1-1.
So the newly minted commissioner is now the chairman of the Board of Commissioners here in Lackawanna County.
That's how it's going.
Thank you, my friend.
You
Always
betcha.
a pleasure.
We'll have some of the audio of that coming up after during the 12 noon newscast, which is always interesting as well.
All right. Thank you. Brian Hughes with the news. And let's go back to Chet Parlavecchio, our man Chester. All right. Anything stand out for you, Chet, in college football?
Well, obviously the firing of Brian Kelly. I mean, down at LSU.
He deserved it. For screwing Notre Dame the way he did, I'm happy.
Well, 2 things real quick. I mean, obviously the parallel to Franklin's firing is almost it's actually frightening. You talk about a situation where he's not been able to win the big moment, the big game to put them in national championship picture, which that's LSU. That's a big time program. That's a tremendous traditional program. Great place to play college football. Has not been able to make that next step. And then what happens is what happened with us at Penn State. Then you have that bad loss, that embarrassing loss. In our case, it was the 2 inferior opponents. But in this case, it was an embarrassment in Death Valley. And that can't go, that just can't go, that can't be dismissed. And obviously the powers that be said this is enough. We're going in the wrong direction now. We're 5-3. We get hammered by Texas A&M on our home ground, and they make a move. And,
Chester, tell me though, Chet Parlavecchio. I mean, did Kelly think that he would be immune from a high-intensity environment when he left Notre Dame to go to LSU?
No, I think he was well aware of it. But again, it goes back to what we had said a week ago. When you get a contract that you can't say no to, that there's really no risk for me. If I've got 10 years, hey, what the hell do I care if by 4 years it's over? You got to pay me for the other 6.
Yeah.
You talk about security for him and his family, and it's a moneymaker.
Yeah.
And that goes back to my initial argument a week ago. Stop giving these contracts out. Allow yourself room. Allow yourself room to make a change in a game that's changing by leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
Brian Kelly's an old guard guy. I remember giving him my high school field when I was coaching at Elizabeth. He was at Cincinnati. He came and did his pregame at our stadium before he played Rutgers. Nice man, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And the game has gone many different ways since. So, again, that's where you paint yourself into the corner.
Chet Parlavecchio, tell me, how did and this is an aside, I loved the previous coach to Kelly. How did he fall out of favor?
Because he just didn't take it to that next level. They want to be playing
They won a national title. They won one.
You're right, but he didn't take. After that, it just started to go in the other direction, and they felt they had to make a move.
Yeah.
So where he felt the only thing that was protecting him was the length of his contract. And again, some I guess LSU said the hell with that. Penn State just made the move. Or here's an interesting thought: maybe LSU wants to make a move to our old guy. Pick him up while we can. Remember, isn't it funny? Indiana came up with the big deal for Cignetti the minute Franklin was fired. Well, isn't it funny? Franklin's available now, and then LSU makes the move. Who knows?
And Kelly's available when Penn State needs a coach.
Well, I don't think we're going to go that way. I think for Coach Kelly, don't get me wrong, he's had a great career. He's a brilliant Hall of Fame type of a college coach. But again, the game is changing, and he's getting older, and things are changing. And I know my energy at my age, and he's older than me, or close. And it's a different game now. So
your energy is boundless. So don't throw them in your category.
But I got to say one last thing, dear. You talk about our college front. Isn't it funny that the NCAA or the powers that be always find a way, if they can, to get Notre Dame in the top 12. I get the biggest kick out of that. Now, there's 3 teams behind them that play a schedule that is twice what they play. Their schedule is literally a joke. And the 2 teams that they had to play, they got beat by.
Yeah.
How are they number 12 right now? And how are you number 12? It escapes me. It escapes me. It really does.
All right, Chester, with the minute we have left, a little less than a minute actually, what else stood up for you? It seemed to me that the Eagles have gotten their sea legs. And the sad thing from yesterday's game with the Giants, losing Scadaboo to a very serious injury.
Would you believe if I told you that was the exact injury my son's star tailback had? The ankle was going in another direction. Oh. Yeah, it was the same dislocation. Hey, listen, real quick on like you said, to sum it up, revenge is a dish served, served best cold.
Best served
and
cold.
The Philadelphia Eagles served it beautifully yesterday. They got Saquon going again for 150. They were efficient. It was a complete domination. It was a nice revenge factor for them from 2 weeks ago. And your Steelers just made a lot of mistakes. And I'll tell you what, Jordan Love had a great night, threw for over 300 yards. Green Bay really dominated the game. A lot of mistakes by the Pittsburgh Steelers. They got to go back to the drawing board. But my impression there was defensively they were really off their game. When you have a tight end receive for 140 yards with a 20-yard per catch average, you better go back and reassess what you're doing back there. Yeah, I mean, that's the wrap-up, partner.
All right. Chet Parlavecchio, the Monday wrap-up on our college and football weekend. Chet, we look forward to next week, my friend. Always a pleasure.
Same here, pal. Talk to you later.
All right. Time to hear from our great sponsors. We'll come back with a Veterans Tribute, the weather, and you, 570-883-0098, if you want to call or text. We'll be back. Our Veterans Tribute this hour and every hour, this day and every day, brought to you by our man, John Basiliga. Today, as in every Monday, we feature his first company, and maybe his biggest, Eastern Roofing Systems, Jessup, PA. One of the largest and certainly the best institutional, commercial roofers in eastern United States. Well, they bring that expertise to your home or your small building here in Northeast PA because this is where they live. Eastern Roofing Systems. William McBride, Catawissa native, Air Force veteran, a career man. He passed away in Lumberton, New Jersey, September 26. Born in Catawissa, graduated from Bloomsburg High School. He met his future wife, Julia McBride, by chance at a restaurant in Honolulu, Hawaii, February 1969. After a long-distance courtship, they married in Canada and lived together in Lumberton, New Jersey until her passing in 2022. He was preceded in death by his wife, Julia, who they had been married just shy of 53 years. He's survived by his brother, sister, 2 children, 3 grandchildren, nieces, nephews, all over America and Canada. He enlisted in the United States Air Force back in 1956, retiring in 1998 as a senior master sergeant. He spent most of his career as a flight engineer, instructor, and supervisor on C-141 Starlifter at McGuire Air Force Base, New Jersey. He was a Vietnam War and Operation Desert Shield and Storm veteran. In that service, he received tons of awards and acclamation. In addition to serving the Air Force, he was a husband, father, grandfather, avid gardener, shade tree mechanic, handyman, woodworker, solitaire and cribbage expert. Longtime parishioner of St. Andrew's Church, Mount Holly, New Jersey. William McBride. LaRue Pappy Rupert, a veteran who worked at the Bloomsburg Fair for more than 50 years. He was 94 when he passed October 11th. He was from Jefferson Street, the Lime Ridge section of Bloomsburg. His daughter Barbara was at his side. Born in Mifflin Township back in 1931. He was a graduate of Berwick High School, class of 51, and a lifelong resident of Lime Ridge. He was employed by Geisinger Medical Center in Danville for many years, driving the shuttle bus, retiring in 1996. He was also employed at the annual Bloomsburg Fair as a ticket taker for more than 50 years. A member of the New Hope Church in Lime Ridge, he was a life member and charter member of the Lime Ridge Fire Company, the former Bloomsburg Moose Club, and the Valley of Bloomsburg Post 273 American Legion, the one we talk about every day. Pappy served his country with honor as a member of the U.S. Navy during the Korean War. He lost his wife, the former Beverly Ritter, back in 2017. 4 brothers also predeceased him. He's survived by his daughter, who resided with him, a sister and a sister-in-law, LaRue Pappy Rupert. Our great veterans this hour brought to you by John Basiliga and Eastern Roofing Systems. Storm Tracker 16 forecast from meteorologist Joe Snedeker. Today, mostly sunny, predicted to be 55. The temperature's been climbing. It's 48 outside the studios as I speak. Tonight, clear skies, 36. Tuesday, mostly sunny, 55. Wednesday, morning sun, then increasing clouds, 55 degrees. Bob Cordaro back. And John Perillo keeps telling me when Chet's on the phone, ask him about Navy, which is undefeated. I keep forgetting. Oh, we say, yeah, they're not national rank material, but they're undefeated. And it's real football. And there's no NIL money. The last real football left on the Division 1A level, probably. Angelo from Madisonville texted in. He says, LTS. He says, I was at the Why Not Bar in Elmhurst yesterday afternoon. Vanessa Leinert, a great girl running for Register of Wills in Lackawanna County. And I'm so glad she's running. And he says, God bless you, my friend. God has blessed me. I was just talking to somebody from Lackawanna County Republican Party that I said, these people, have them call in. I met Vanessa Leinert at the Lackawanna County Republican dinner where I was Toastmaster for Bob Pettinato's honor. So thanks for mentioning that, Angela Lutz. Doug, he texted in, Bob, I'm 63. I'm on disability. I only get $7 a day in food stamps. That's one meal a day. I know it. And now I have nothing. Well, not yet. But I guess it's going to be this week, huh? Man. I have no car to go to get food from a food bank, I'm afraid. God bless you, Doug. Maybe these idiot Democrats are going to get that they're hurting real people for their so-called leverage. Man. Awful, awful, awful. So hang in there, Doug. Jim from Browndale says, when we were leaving yesterday, I said, I love what Trump's doing. He's getting a lot done in under a year. And that was, he says, I know I have to listen to the alphabet networks I have to, meaning you, have to listen to the alphabet networks for work prep. I don't know how you do it. Went to visit the in-laws in Connecticut over the weekend, and they had the NBC affiliate on. I had to take an extra blood pressure medicine pill. The lies were one after another. I had to leave and go for a walk. Well, Jim, what was their response when you said Trump's doing a good job in his first year? Curious about that. And I mean, you don't want to bring it up because you don't want to start an argument with family. And by the way, if you don't think Trump's doing a good job, and if you don't think he was a better choice than Kamala Harris, God help you. You're on another plane of reality. You really are. Somebody texting in, Doug, I can't do this, but they're saying if you put me in contact with Doug, I'll be sure he has food. So, Doug, there's help out there from individuals if this continues. God bless you. God bless you. And we're still thinking about our friend Lorraine, who was in the hospital. I got to speak with her last week. Did not connect with her over the weekend. Her phone doesn't take messages, but tried her again this morning. Yeah. While we're having great days and good things happening, there's always somebody who's got a tough go of it. Always remember that. And remember that when you're having a tough go of it. Prayerfully, we hope these things can change for you if you're having a tough time. Because good times are possible. A little bit of ease of your daily whatever is possible. But, Doug, you're not alone. We're with you. This large dysfunctional family. Do you see that? I mean, they immediately extend their hand to help. I actually don't know how I can put you together with somebody, but I want to think about that. I mean, we can't have anonymous people with we can't do it. But in any event. All right, we'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. Let's hear from our great sponsors. A little music. And then, of course, you. And you can still reach me. Text or call 570-883-0098. Billy Joel, he released his hit, This Is the Time. This date, 1986. What a great song. Doug and others in his position and in his situation. Brian from Scranton texted in, Mary Regina. They said, Doug, and I've said the same thing to you, Doug. You let me know. We'll see what we could do, and we'll take care of it, okay? If this continues. I understand completely. Just let me know. You got to text me during the show. That's all. Because I don't see these texts after I'm off air. By the way, Rob Bresnahan with a release on the takeover by Tenor Health, and it's a real company. But he thanks State Representative Bridget Kozarowski for being involved, Governor Shapiro's office, as well as himself. They got it done. And one of the keys, because I know this through my son, one of the keys to getting this done was local foundations, particularly the Blue Cross Foundation. I forget what it's called. I shouldn't be, but I am. And the local foundation stepped up here. Big deal. Big deal. And here's the other thing. They're not coming in here with our rural reimbursement rates without that $50 billion backup that was in the big mediocre bill, one of the better parts of the bill. And Rob Bresnahan's one of the key guys that got it in there as a freshman congressman. So he's been integral in preserving our health care here. I know other politicians have tried to take credit or get themselves imprinted on this situation and this, at least for now, good news. But the Area Foundation, what the heck is it, the Blue Cross Foundation? I'm blanking. It's coming to my mind. I know people on the board, and I'm blanking. Darn it. But in any event, good news on the hospital front, and hope we'll get Rob Bresnahan on the show to talk about it. Quickly, my man Tommy P. He's on patrol, even in the cool weather. He goes out pretty much any weather. Tommy P. He goes on patrol on Apple Street, Dunmore, and you guys know you're safe. Hey, let's go to John Wagner, our man John. How are you, my friend?
I'm good this morning, Bob. I want to thank you for honoring my nephew, Rob Wagner, who was a great guy and died way too young. He was only 66.
66. Oh.
And I was his godfather. He was born on the island of Nicosia, Cyprus.
How about that, I love that.
His dad was a Navy man. He was in a small Navy communication station on the island, and I guess they were supporting the fleet in the Mediterranean at the time. Rob was born there. I was stationed in Verdun, France at the time. I was in the Army with an Army helicopter company, and I was Rob's godfather by proxy. And I really appreciate that you did that. And you honored my brother Bob, who passed away. He was a 27-year Navy veteran, retiring as a lieutenant commander. And he was a great guy, too. You honored him earlier in the year.
Yes.
He passed away April 12th of this year. And 6 weeks later, his son, Rob, was in the hospital with esophageal cancer. He passed away really quick. It really happened so fast. Everybody was shocked to hear that, because that was it was just a terrible thing. But we're all. I have 5 brothers, and I'm the last of the Wagners from Cornelia Street in Pittston.
Well, John, you got to do us a favor.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to get me your information because I want to honor veterans when they're alive occasionally, not just after they pass. I would love to honor you as part of that and have you tell us.
I had a lot of fun in the Army. I could have stayed in, but when I got out, my family said, "Oh, your brother Bob's staying, and you better stay home." So I didn't. But there was a lot of other things that I wanted to mention. I know that I was listening on Thursday or Friday when I heard you read the prayer to Saint Michael.
Yes.
That was
someone
that was
texted
wonderful.
it in.
I'm glad to hear you.
Yeah.
But also earlier when my niece Nadine Dreyer was on with you when you honored Adam Wagner. Well, we're all descendants of Adam, who was a Revolutionary War veteran.
Yeah, how about that? What a great tradition in your family. John, get me the info on your military and your life. I'd love to do it.
We had military people. My brother Bill was in pilot training in the Navy when the war ended, the Second War, and he got out and was in the first class at King's College.
Nice.
And then we had someone in the military between 1944 and 1981 when my brother Bob retired. Of course, then Rob went in later than that, but I'm saying my brothers and I.
Yeah.
And I was only in for a little over 3 years, but I liked the military. I was gung ho, I guess.
Well, I thank you for calling in about your nephew.
Let me quickly recite the prayer to Saint Michael again.
Yes, please.
Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, thrust into hell Satan and all evil spirits who wander through the world, seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, John.
You have
Always
a
a pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. We're finishing with Lee Greenwood, born Southgate, California, this date 1942, Murph tells us. And what other song than God Bless the USA? Oh, talk about an anthem. Somebody texted in helpfully, it's the All One Foundation. They were big in this. I know that. And some others were as well. So thank those foundations for helping to preserve. And they've had to provide a financial backstop for anybody taking over Commonwealth Health, or they were just, nobody was going to do it. Tenor Health, I've heard all good about them. Let's hope we're all right and that those hospitals are preserved. Wilkes-Barre, General, former Scranton Mercy, whatever, I don't remember what they call them, all these name changes. But All One Foundation, Rob Bresnahan, Bridget Kozarowski, and Governor Shapiro's office. Well, Bill from Pitts, I'm not going to get to you. Try me tomorrow. I think that subject of Stephen Smith will keep. But, guys, great being with you. Always great to start a week with you. I hope you have a good afternoon. But as you know, when my Bicardo Jewelers watch says 12 o'clock, it means it's time for the Sue Henry Show. It's time after that for the Rob O'Donnell Show, which means I have to go and we have to gavel to a close this meeting of the Club for Common Sense. God willing, I'll be with you tomorrow morning. Have a great afternoon.